everyone, my name is Leanne and today I'm going to be answering all of your questions from my 1000 subscriber celebration Q&A. I'm also going to be announcing the winner of the £10 book depository giveaway at the end of the video. Olivia Pope asked, if you could be any animal, what animal would you be and why? This is a really easy question for me. My favourite animal has always been, and I think always will be, a fox. Specifically an Arctic fox. I feel like a fox kind of suits my personality, although I also feel like that's quite an egotistical thing to say. Suzanne Katanas asked, what was the very first book that you read that made you feel like, wow, I have to read more? And one of Downright Bookish's questions is quite similar, who said, I'd love to know what book or genre sparked your interest in reading. I've asked my mum about this and about like my reading history or like reading origins. And she said I was really quick to learn how to read and just read every single book that I could get my hands on. But the most distinctive memory I have about getting a book and being like, I need more of this, was when I read The Dare Game, which is one of the Tracy Beaker books by Jacqueline Wilson. I have a really distinct memory of reading this when I was about 6 in school, and I'd definitely been reading before that, but it was the first book that I really 100% absolutely loved. I still remember quite a lot of the plot of it, even though I think that was the last time I read it, so that was 15 years ago. But yeah, you know when you do sort of like 10-15 minutes reading a day with like a teaching assistant or something? That was one of the books I was given, and I remember absolutely loving it and saying to my mum, can we go to the library or can we go to the bookshop? I want more of Jacqueline Wilson's books. Downright Bookish also asked, how is your job going and are you enjoying life after college? My job's fine. As far as retail jobs go, I think it's actually a really pleasant one. Super busy at the moment because we have a lot of Christmas stock in. I'm really enjoying the supervisor position. I feel like if I had a sales assistant position, I'd be a bit bored, but I am learning a lot from this job and I do think it will be really valuable experience going forward. It is really tiring and I don't always want to go and there are stressful moments, but as I said, as far as retail jobs go, I think it's pretty good. As for enjoying life after university, I really miss lectures and seminars and I really miss learning. And I'm still trying to learn how to incorporate learning about literature into my reading for pleasure. And I guess I kind of miss the university lifestyle. I still have like an element of the university lifestyle because like all my friends here are still in uni, my boyfriend's still in uni, but it's like not quite the same. I am still glad that I've not stayed on for a master's though. Another question about university was from Joy C, who asked, what was your favourite experience about university and studying English literature and creative writing? One of my favourite university experiences was being part of a society. I was the vice president of the English and Creative Writing Society and we were awarded the title of Best Academic Society in the entirety of the UK by the National Union of Students. A little brag there. But that was probably the element of my uni life that I enjoyed the most. It was the most related to what I actually want to do with the rest of my life. One of my main roles was organising author events, essentially what I want to do with my life. And just generally being involved in a lot of bookish events. But as far as specifically about studying English literature and creative writing, one of the things that I really loved about it was how it pushed me to try things that I wasn't overly familiar with. At the start of my degree, if you had said, oh yeah, you're going to be writing poetry and one of your favourite modules will be a Victorian module, I wouldn't have believed you, especially about the poetry one. I did a introduction to poetry module in my first year, which was all about writing poetry, and going into that module I was like, I don't understand why we have to do this, I don't want to do this at all. And by the end of it I couldn't get enough poetry. Writing poetry is one of my most favourite things in the world, and if it wasn't for that module, I really don't know how different my life would be. Thoughts from Nowhere asked, which book would you force with kindness for every child to read? Okay, so the first answer I have for this, just because I have just finished reading the second book in the series and I've absolutely loved it and I think it would give so much joy to a child, I would recommend Catherine M. Valente's Fairyland series for children. I think it's utterly brilliant and I think there is actually a huge amount of depth and interesting discussion points for children in these books. On the older side of child, moving into YA, two books that I think should be compulsory reading in secondary schools are The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas and My Sister Lives on the Mantelpiece by Annabelle Pitcher. The first of those books is a US based book about Black Lives Matter. My Sister Lives on the Mantelpiece is a UK based book which looks at a number of important topics like divorce and prejudice. Vanessa from Chbosky has 2 questions. The first of which is, which book transitioned you into the adult genre? I think Orwell? Yeah, I think Orwell's books were probably the first like grown-up books that I picked up like by myself, like it wasn't like compulsory reading at university or anything. I think I read 1984 when I was maybe like 16 or 17, and I'd already read Animal Farm, and I also picked up Down and Out in Paris and London. I think Orwell is pretty accessible for younger readers. Vanessa's second question was, why did you want to start a booktube channel in the first place, and who were your inspirations? I wanted to start a YouTube channel of some kind for ages, literally since I was like 14 or 15, and when I was watching a lot of the like UK vloggers. Someone that I really loved specifically was Lex Croucher, and she occasionally did some bookish videos and stuff. There was also Rosianna and of course Sana. So they were the first people I saw on YouTube that were making videos about books. But at that point I didn't really know that booktube was a thing. When I got to my first year of university, me and my friend wanted to start a YouTube channel together, and we like tried to film one video and it just didn't work. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what the channel was gonna be. It just didn't work. Like, right, I'm gonna do this by myself. What do I know about? I know about education. I did a couple of videos about the Irish education system. And then I was like, I also know about books. I'm gonna talk about books. And it was only then that I really discovered how expansive booktube was. And the first few channels that I came across in addition to like Sana's channel was Jean's Bookish Thoughts and Jen Campbell. I think they are inspirations to us all. Time and Chance asked a really interesting but very complex question, and that is, what is the relationship between quality of a booktube channel and number of subscribers? There's not a direct correlation in my opinion, and it also depends on how you interpret the word quality. Is it quality as in the lighting and the microphone and the camera? If that's the case, then I don't think you need amazing quality. I really don't. Obviously having good lighting helps, and having audio definitely helps, and I really want to invest in a microphone soon. But I would say as long as the quality isn't bad, it won't really affect the number of subscribers you get. If you mean quality as in like the content itself, I mean that's a whole wider question about like the quality or like artistic integrity of any piece of media compared to the number of people that consume it. They don't necessarily relate. There are a number of hugely successful booktube channels who definitely deserve to be successful as they are, which I'm not particularly interested in the books they read or the content they produce. And you know, it depends. Do you define quality in terms of like entertainment value or in-depth analysis? So I think there is a relationship between the two, but I don't think it's a correlation. Bookworm Becca asks, subscriber numbers can be discouraging, so what kept you motivated to continue making videos? Also, I love how original your content is. Thank you, although I don't really know if my content is that original. How do you come up with ideas? I have way more ideas for videos than I have time to execute these ideas. I have a massive file on my computer that has all the videos that I want to make in the future. There are videos that I've been saying I wanted to make for like a year and I haven't got around to doing it. I guess coming up with those ideas, it's not being a passive reader. It's taking time to reflect on what you're reading and thinking about the themes, thinking about how it can relate to other books. And I think when you start thinking about how books relate to one another, that's where discussion videos are born. As far as staying motivated, it's just I really enjoy this. As I mentioned previously, I've wanted to do this for so long, and now I've finally gone and done it. Why would I stop? This booktube channel has given me so much more confidence. I'm really grateful for the audience I have and the platform I have. It's fun. I enjoy this. That's how I stay motivated. My Super Kate asks, if you could be any character in any book, who would you be and why? Oh, who would I be? I read a lot of books about very serious things where not very nice things happen to the characters. I think if I had to give an answer for this, I would be one of the girls from the Spinsters trilogy by Holly Bourne. What's the name of the character and What's a Girl Gotta Do? I haven't read What's a Girl Gotta Do, by the way. I absolutely love this series, but I feel like I'm just putting the final book off so it doesn't need to end. Is she called Evie? I think she might be called Evie. I think I'd be her. Rihanna Reeds asks, are you planning out your 2018 reading goals, and if so, care to share? I do have a couple of reading goals in mind. I want to start up a little challenge for myself, which is quite inspired by Books with Lala, which is like looking back on old haul videos and read the books from those hauls that you haven't yet. I'm going to be setting my Goodreads goal at 100 books. In addition to my read a non-fiction book per month and read a poetry book per month, I'd like to add a classic into that as well. And I would like to select a new author to have a long-term goal of reading all their work. I'm halfway through my Jane Austen challenge at the minute, and I would like to choose another writer to be doing alongside that. When it gets to the end of the year, I will sit down with all my reading statistics and have a little look at them and see what else I would like to incorporate into my goals. Tam R asked, as a new subscriber, my question is, what is your favourite book? And Queen Novella asked a somewhat similar question, which is, what books do you recommend to people in real life, outside of Twitter, BookTube and the internet in general? I don't think my recommendations differ that much between the internet and like in real life. Some of my favourite books include Asking for It by Louise O'Neill, which is about rape culture in Ireland, Middlemarch by George Eliot. Although it has its problems, I also recommend The Magicians by Lev Grossman a lot. Mel from Books with Wings asked, what are the goals that you would like to accomplish in the next 10 years? In 10 years, I would like to be firmly in a publishing career. Even in the next year, I want to be moving into book selling or publishing. So in 10 years, I would like to be working in a publishing house that I really admire, working on marketing, working on author events, working on promotion. And I'd like to have worked on some really successful campaigns. I'd like to have a dog. If I don't have a dog by the time I'm 30, I'm gonna be a bit sad. I'd like to be living somewhere that I want to be settled in. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to say, oh, I want a mortgage, because I don't fucking understand that. But I want to be in a house that I would like to stay in. I'd like to have some poetry published, maybe a collection, I don't know. I'd like to be a lot more, like, well-travelled by that point of my life as well. Carlos asked, have you ever read anything by a Spanish author? I don't think I have. Please do leave your recommendations for Spanish writers down below in the comments. I've got a lot of questions about Ireland. I'm going to incorporate Abby Day's and Fernando's questions all into one. Abby asked, how are you liking living in Wales and how different is it to where you grew up? Fernando asked, which part of Ireland are you from? Why did you move abroad? How long has it been since you moved? Do you plan on moving back to Ireland? If so, when? And what do you miss most about Ireland? So I'm just going to share the moving story. So I am from North County Dublin. I decided to move abroad. It doesn't sound quite right referring to Wales as abroad, does it? I decided to move away because it's very much the norm in Dublin. If you go to university, you will stay in your parents' house because that just makes sense. Chances are the university that you want to go to is in Dublin. I think there's only 7 universities in the entirety of Ireland. So if you live in Dublin, you may as well stay in your parents' house because you're not going to be able to rent in Dublin. And I really didn't want that. I was totally ready to flee the nest. I needed to move out, really. Me and my boyfriend at the time compiled a list of universities that we would both want to go to. A lot of people thought I was settling in order to accommodate what university he would be able to get into, and a lot of people I think judged me for choosing this over going to Trinity College in Dublin. But at the time for me it was totally the right decision, and I'm so glad I came to Aberystwyth, like you have no idea. And even if it wasn't for that relationship, I would have still wanted to move away. I still would have ended up picking Aberystwyth. So I sort of made that decision to move away when I was like 16, 17, and I actually ended up moving when I was 18. It was literally the day after I finished my Leaving Cert, I moved away. As for how I like living in Wales and how it's different to Ireland and what I miss about Ireland, it's not that different. Like, Wales and Ireland I don't think are very different at all. I think the culture is quite similar, but Dublin and Aberystwyth are very different. Like, everyone in Aberystwyth knows everyone. It's a lot smaller, and living here has made me realise how I didn't take advantage of living in Dublin and all the different opportunities and experiences that were a lot more accessible to me when I lived in Dublin. So I don't think the countries are different, but I think the specific parts of the country that I have called home are very different. What do I miss most about Ireland? The food. There are a lot of like brands of things, especially crisps, that you can only get in Ireland, that they don't sell over here, that every time my mum comes over, I get her to like bring me like a pile of them. And I guess I do miss the shopping, I really do. I miss the Irish sense of humour, I miss little cultural references that get lost on people in the UK. Do I plan on moving back there? I don't have like a concrete plan of moving back there. It's not like I can't really see it in my future anywhere, but I'm not against the idea, and I wouldn't be unhappy if I did. Like, I basically want to be where my career takes me, and if that takes me back to Dublin, I'm more than happy with that. Carlos also asked, what would you choose as the most representative things of Irish culture? I think Irish music is really representative of Irish culture. Not only the traditional stuff, but how it has become fused with other more modern genres of music. I would say the sense of humour as well. And of course I would, but I would say the literature. I think Ireland is a really self-reflective nation, and I think that comes across most strongly in the literature of the country. Leading on from that, Katie from Books and Things asked, what are a few of your favourite Irish books? And Conor O'Brien asked specifically what books I would recommend to Americanised Irish descendants. That one I think is a really interesting question. Some of my favourite Irish writing in general: Elizabeth Bowen, Edna O'Brien. I really love the Country Girls series by Edna O'Brien. I love Oscar Wilde. Jennifer Johnson is a writer that I've not read enough of, but I absolutely loved her novel about Ireland in the First World War, How Many Bells to Babylon. The writers that I would specifically suggest for Americanised Irish descendants are Anne Enright, the Ryan Cusack duology. I've only read the first book in this, The Glorious Heresies. That duology is by Lisa McInerney. And I would also really recommend Louise O'Neill, specifically asking for it, which I have mentioned previously. I think all three of those writers show a side to Ireland that I think the Americanised Irish descendants don't necessarily always see or understand. I think sometimes those that have a history of Irish heritage have quite an idealised version of Ireland in their head, like it's all green country roads and hills. These three writers really highlight the modern day problems. They confront the complex role of religion. They look at prejudice, they look at gang culture, and I think they just really combat that idealised notion of Ireland. The final question I'm going to answer comes from Jeanette, which says, how has your life changed since you have started a booktube channel? My life has changed in a number of different ways, both as a result and not as a result of having a booktube channel. I think having a booktube channel has given me so much more confidence. I think it has opened so many doors for me, and I definitely wouldn't be the person I am now if it wasn't for doing this. I've gone through a lot of difficult experiences. Like, when I first started my booktube channel, I was in a really horrible relationship. Like, it was so unhealthy. He was so horrible. And when that relationship broke down, booktube was a huge source of support for me, and the friends I've made through this are incredible. My third year of university was one of the best years of my life, and I'd had a lot of new experiences in that year. I learned so much, I did so many cool things. I met the most wonderful person who has had such a important impact on my life. I graduated from university, I've got my first job, and I've gone through all those experiences while doing this. I'm always going to be able to look back because of these videos and pinpoint what I was doing or what my life was like at that particular moment, and I'm so grateful for that, for having that record of how my life has changed. So this channel means a lot to me. Oh yeah, we need to do the giveaway. Okay, I'm gonna get a random number generator. In case you haven't noticed, my laptop's down here. I'm not just like looking at my crotch or something. The comment that has been randomly generated came from Abby Day. I will send you a little message on YouTube, or if Twitter is an easier way for you to communicate, just let me know. So that is it from the Q&A, and that's all I'm going to talk about today. Thank you so much to everyone who sent a question. Thank you to everyone who entered the giveaway. I hope you're all doing well, and I will talk to you guys in my next video.